When we talk about income tax, we're talking about a portion of our salary that we pay to the government in order for them to provide the services that they provide, including transportation, housing, in some cases public housing, and education through the public school system. Now, paying taxes clearly reduces the amount of money that ends up in our pocket, and there are many reasons to think about ways of reducing taxes. And one of the main principles of taxation is that governments, although they need to collect revenues in order to finance their activities and to provide the benefits that they provide to society, they also want us to save, and they also want us to put money into savings plans that then allow us to retire and that ensure, or that aim to ensure, that there aren't a large proportion of the retirees who are broke and who don't have any savings at age 55, 60, 65, or 65 plus. Now, one of the key principles of taxation is that governments aim to incentivize certain kinds of behavior and they aim to disincentivize other kinds of behavior. So, for example, governments will tax cigarettes and alcohol quite highly in some cases in order to disincentivize the consumption of those products, and of course also to take in money for people who choose to consume those products. On the other hand, governments also aim to incentivize certain kinds of behavior, and one of the main things that they aim to incentivize is saving and investing. And governments incentivize saving and investing by providing tax breaks to contributions made to pension plans or other savings products that have as an aim to set aside capital for future use during years when we will not be working or may have needs for funds that exceed our income. In other words, governments set in place programs that allow us to put aside money for future use and for our use in retirement. And this is one of the main things about taxation that we can use to our benefit by making ourselves familiar with the types of things that governments put in place for us to save money and save taxes on the amounts that we save. So in other words, instead of getting $100 taxed at 30% and we end up with 70, in some cases we may be able to save the full 100 into a tax incentivized savings plan. In other cases, the 70 that we end up with, we may be able to save that and gain a return on it without paying taxes on the return. So the governments aim to incentivize and disincentivize certain kinds of behavior, and one of the main things that they aim to incentivize typically in Western countries is saving and investing. Firstly, because they want us to have funds set aside for our retirement, and secondly, because that capital that we set aside in saving and investing goes towards providing capital to users of capital, such as companies and governments that rely on that funding in order to build businesses and to ultimately offer returns over the long term through the stock markets and the bond markets.